Boy, oh boy, you already know what we're going to be talking about today. The penalty in that Chiefs Buffalo game. Honestly, a great game. A lot of controversy over this penalty call. A lot of whining out of the Chiefs. Welcome back to the Stack Shack Sports Show. So excited to have you in today. If you enjoy our content, make sure you're liking and subscribing so we can keep making more of it and so that more people see this video. You could already tell from the title, I am full anti Mahomes on this. His behavior is ridiculous. So let me set the scene and let's go through this. At the end of the game, Chiefs are driving a little bit, right? They've gotten across the 50. They're trying to come down to win the game. They just need a field goal to tie. So really, they're getting close to field goal position, getting close to being able to tie this game up, send it to overtime, or potentially go down and score a touchdown and win it. They had plenty of time left on the clock, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But on this play, I saw some people on Twitter, I think Colin Cowherd tweeted out, that's the greatest play I've ever seen not count. And it really might be. On this play, Patrick Mahomes throws it to Kelce. Kelce then runs down the field and makes a deep lateral across the field to Kadarius Toney, who runs it in for a touchdown. Honestly, it's spectacular. I don't want to get demonetized for showing that play in its entirety, but go check it out if you haven't seen it. It's an incredible play. But the play was for naught because there's a penalty here on Kansas City that the refs called. They threw a flag on this play for Kadarius Toney. This player right here, who ended up catching the touchdown, not that that really matters, but it's interesting to note. This player right here, who runs into the end zone in a few moments, is lined up pretty egregiously across the line of the ball there. You can see the ball is substantially behind this yard marker, and Toney's foot is his toes are right on that line marker. So he is a full, I don't know, a couple feet in front of the football. Not particularly close. Everybody's rewatched the video. He didn't check with the ref. This is completely on him, and they threw a flag on it, rightly so. Where the controversy begins is the fact that that was a touchdown play. Would have probably won the Chiefs the game. Now, the Bills would have had a minute, and they, had... That's enough time to make a move, but unlikely that they'll go down and score a touchdown because they would have been down 4, right? So it wouldn't have been get a field goal and we can send this to overtime for the Bills. That probably would have ended the game. Obviously, Kansas City's pissed off at the call. Now, at first, I saw the video of Mahomes on the sideline screaming and yelling and pissed off, and I was like, wow, what did they call on the Chiefs, right? Well, I think we can all pretty much agree here. He's offsides. So I'm losing some respect already that he would even be whining that much on the sidelines. When this is very obviously black and white, this isn't a ticky-tack pass interference call. This isn't even, a holding call or a roughing the passer call. This is a very binary call. This is one of the easiest calls to make. Did you line up in front of the ball or behind the ball? You definitely lined up in front of the ball. That is offsides. There's no... I don't know what to say there. This is the most black and white easy call ever. It's not like it was a ticky-tack, I don't know, some people, it happens all the time with holding or defensive pass interference. Is it a jump ball? Was the ball uncatchable? There's a lot of subjectivity to a lot of calls in the NFL and in football in general. This one's very black and white. There's a line, goes perfectly horizontal with where the ball is. He is across it. Now, you might be saying, hey, the center pulled the ball back a little bit, which does happen sometimes. But even if it was a couple feet forward, which I don't think the center pulled it back that far. He's still over the line. It's not particularly close is the final statement. Now, where I really get upset with this is what happened after the game. So after the game, Mahomes is still pissed off at this call. I had to be like restrained on the sidelines because he was going after the ref, right? And after the game finishes. I mean, look at this video. Shout out to Ari. Appreciate you posting this kind of thread here. I mean, Mahomes is livid. His boys are having to hold him back as he's trying to scream and yell and go after this ref. This is after, you know, the ball has been turned over to the Bills. But this is the one that really bothers me. This is the one that really bothers me. Cover your children's ears for the language in this, but I think it's important to see. So, game finishes. Bills take a knee, run the clock out. And this is the handshake between our two quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And this is what Mahomes has to say.
Loudest fucking call I've ever seen, man. Offensive offsides on that penalty, man. Fucking terrible.
So he's obviously still heated. But this is absolute loser behavior. This is one of the worst losers I've ever seen. Like this is like Pee-wee football temper tantrum type of ridiculous. The play is very obviously a penalty. To say that's the worst call he's ever seen. Oh boy. I'm not going to go through all of the calls that the Chiefs have gotten in the last few years, but if you watch football, you know there has been a trend, and it's been a very common thing to say online, that the Chiefs get all the calls, and the refs seem to want them to win the game. And some of them are pretty egregious in favor of Mahomes and the Chiefs. And some of those calls have been in the biggest of games. Super Bowls. AFC Championship game, they just got an untimed down. They just got an extra down against the Bengals. Still don't have a full grasp of what happened. Apparently the refs blew it dead. Nobody on the field thought it was blown dead, but they gave him an extra play. Cool. Eagles fans, you remember that pass interference? Well, I think you're still worked up about that one. Again, was the untimed down supposed to happen against the Bengals? Maybe it was. I don't know. That's at least a little bit of discussion. You could have a discussion onto why did you blow this play dead? What happened? Why didn't you completely shut down the play right away? Like, why did you let it go and then say, oh, we're going to do it over again? What? It was one of the most ridiculous sequences of officiating I've ever seen. The Eagles, I mean, that was a huge call to have that pass interference call. Now, that one, again, there might be a little bit of discussion there of, well, maybe it was pass interference, maybe it wasn't. That's the debate. This play, there is no debate. He's offsides. And I don't have the videos pulled up of the post-game conference, but him being Mahomes and Andy Reid went after the refs in post-game, which is a huge no-no in the NFL, and they better fine him. Both of them. Mahomes especially, though. He goes off, says you want to see, the players on the field decide the game, and that's ridiculous. It should have been a warning. Are you kidding me? You want a warning. That is the most entitled garbage I've ever heard. If he's just barely offsides and he checked with the ref would have told him, hey, back up. Actually, if he would have checked with the ref at all, he probably would have told him, hey, back up, you're offsides. That's what you do. I learned that in flag football at 8 years old. You line up, you check with the ref, you say, am I good? You give them a thumbs up, they give you a thumbs up, or they use their hand. Hey, forward, backwards. If you need to be on the ball, or if you need to be off the ball, because in certain situations you need to be off the ball so you don't cover somebody up, right? Tony does none of this. That's 100% on him, and it's 100% a penalty. We going to talk about the Chiefs' opening game, where for 58 of the 60 minutes of the game, they didn't call their tackle false starting every single play? Every single play. It's just ridiculous, the amount of entitlement to say, we got to let the players on the field finish it. Yeah, and every other time the calls have gone your way, Patrick, you're online defending the refs the next week. Like, hey, they're just doing their job. They got to make the calls. They're going to call something. You made a fool of yourself in this matchup. Now, I will give Mahomes some credit. Want to play the beginning of this clip where he apologized, right? And talked about how he regretted some of his actions.
Obviously, you don't want to react that way. I care, man. I love it. I love this game. I love my teammates, and I want to go out there and put everything on the line to win. But obviously, can't do that. I mean, can't be that way towards officials or really anybody in life. So probably regret acting like that. But more than anything, I regretted the way I acted towards Josh after the game, because he had nothing to do with it. And so I was still hot and emotional. But you can't do that, man. It's not a great example for kids watching the game. So that I was more upset about that than I was about me on the sideline.
And I would agree. You get heated after that. You're going crazy on the sidelines. Sure. It's your sidelines as maybe a little bit of a safe space for you, but it's still a bad look. And yes, the Josh Allen, this one that I played earlier, that's the bad moment for Mahomes. And I want to add something to this, because I think this situation actually gets a little worse when you put it into context. So, to talk about that being the worst call he's ever seen. Now, I understand heated in the moment we make egregious statements, but I think every single Saints fan in the world would talk about the no call in the playoffs at the end of the game when they had a chance to win. That's probably the worst call I've ever seen. Right? I mean, it doesn't get much more blatant than that. It was ridiculous. So, I mean, it forced a rule change the next year where they tried to institute this replay for pass interference, right? It was that bad. This is nothing. Are you kidding me? That's nothing. That is a legitimate call. That's how it should be called. But I think it gets even worse when you put it into context. So I pulled up the play-by-play here. Okay. There's a minute and 12 seconds in the game when that play starts. And it is 2nd and 10. This is not a 4th down play. This is not a last second play. This is 2nd and 10 at Buffalo's 49 with a minute and 12 to go, and KC has 2 timeouts left. Patrick, you have every opportunity to still win this game. That's not a game-changing, like game-ending call. You still get the replay of down, right? Because an offsides is its play is nullified, right? No play happened. You still have your time on the clock. Now it's 2nd and 15 instead of 2nd and 10. You lost 5 yards, no time, and no down. It's 2nd and 15 instead of 2nd and 10 because of that call. I know they scored a touchdown on that play. But you know what? You have every opportunity to still get your team into field goal position. Patrick, you're making this point that you want the players to have the opportunity to decide the game. That call did not stop you as players from having the opportunity to decide the game. You still had the 2nd and 15 play, where you had an incomplete pass, and the 3rd and 15 play, where you had another incomplete pass, and the 4th and 15 play. You had 3 more plays. And if you get a first down on any of them, you can keep driving. This isn't a last second end the game kind of call. You want the players to be able to decide what happens in the game? I think they did. You still had every opportunity. You lost 5 yards. Okay, get 10 of them back and, I don't know, maybe try and kick a really long field goal. You had every opportunity. So to put this narrative out there that the refs stole your opportunity to win the game. No, they didn't. It's 2nd and 15 instead of 2nd and 10. You still have every opportunity. You still have multiple plays. You have multiple timeouts. And you got 1:12 on the clock. I watched you against this same Bills team win in, 13 seconds? Drive your team down for a field goal? You got to be better than that. And the narrative that they took away your opportunity to win the game is ridiculous. Yes, it was a great play. I'm not taking anything away from that. This Kelce pass and then this lateral 24 yards down the field to run into the end zone it's one of the great plays I've ever seen, you know? And they took it away because of a penalty. And if that penalty would have been ticky-tack, you might have had an argument, okay? If it was a random holding penalty or some sort of goofy offensive pass interference or something that was questionable, something that could be argued, something that was subjective, you might have something there, but I'm just going to pull this picture up. That's all I'm going to do is say he's offsides, Patrick. There's nothing more to say. Like, this is blatantly offsides. He lined up offsides. It's not a little flinch. He literally just lined up offsides. So that's where I'm at with this. I lost a ton of respect for Patrick. I will say I have never been like a huge Patrick Mahomes fan, but I always respected him for what he did. And, you know, as a Bengals fan, I think back to last year's AFC Championship game, okay? And I felt like that game, the refs in the fourth quarter took away a lot of opportunities and injected themselves too often in the game against the Bengals with, there was a really bad roughing the passer call, the do-over down that I don't know if I have yet to get an actual explanation from anyone of what really happened and why they redid the down. I'm not going to argue with the unnecessary roughness late hit call. I mean, I understand Logan Wilson. I understand you're just trying to make a play. I mean, I don't think it was dirty or anything like that. It was a late hit, and that's okay. That is what it is. But it's the calls before that I really actually have a problem with. But you know what? I sucked it up after that game and said, you know, we still had opportunities to win. And you ask the Bengals players, look at the Bengal interviews after that game. Look at the Jets interviews after the Sauce Gardner penalty this year. And a lot of those are on, like I said, roughing the passer, defensive holding. Those are plays that some people have some some personal opinions on. They're somewhat subjective. What is roughing the passer? Did he really have time to slow down before he hit the quarterback? Did he really go high? Was he just, making the right play? Did he go too low? Oh, defensive holding. Did he really impede the receiver? I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. There can be some debate there. There's some subjectivity. Lining up offsides is a line on the field. Everybody knows it. There's no subjectivity. And I really, the outbursts on the sidelines, the behavior towards Josh Allen, and I do appreciate the apology. I didn't feel like that was a very good apology. He just said, "Oh, it's the thing I regret the most." Regret isn't saying you're sorry, to me. You can regret a lot of things, but actually be sorry and ask Josh for some forgiveness. That's not happening. And so I'm a little disappointed. It's a bit of a nothing burger there, but at least he said something. But that kind of behavior, I mean, that is ridiculous. Think about how Josh felt when he thought he beat the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes came back and won it with 13 seconds left. Sure, there were some things he wasn't happy with that game. But I don't remember anything crazy. And that's happened a lot. Like Patrick Mahomes, you've done a lot of winning, right? And the one time every call doesn't end up going your way. And we can debate whether the refs should be throwing as many penalties as they are. But this one's a no-brainer. This one's a no-brainer. This is a penalty that the refs should and will call pretty much every single time. And this is the guy who lined up offsides, by the way, is the person who caught the touchdown. Again, not a huge deal, but kind of something. It's a bad look for the Chiefs. Makes them look like a sore loser. I don't think it even makes him look like a strong competitor. I know some people have compared, this Mahomes to Brady's outbursts on the sidelines, but I think it was a little different with Brady to me. One, maybe I just am forgetful, but I don't remember Brady having to be restrained from going after a ref. I remember him yelling and screaming on the sidelines, getting in coaches and other players' faces. I don't remember him needing to be restrained on the sidelines from attacking a ref. And I also don't remember him ever, after losing a game, and technically he didn't lose many, but neither has Patrick Mahomes. I don't remember him ever after losing a game going to the opposing quarterback, who obviously had nothing to do with it, and saying, "Oh man, that was the worst call. Come on, are you kidding me?" Like, that is so demeaning to a Bills team that won this game. Like, let's give a round of applause and some credit to the Bills, who really, honestly, kind of struggled at the beginning of the season. They fired some coaches, they've made a bunch of changes, and they just beat the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs, which have historically kind of been a kryptonite for the Bills. They've struggled with the Chiefs and the Bengals. And to come in and get a win on the road against the Chiefs, like, we should be talking about the Bills and this turnaround they're having, and wow, Josh Allen outdueled Patrick Mahomes. Look at the defense for getting a stop, right? We looked at the play-by-play. Mahomes still had a chance at 2nd and 15, and incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass. Let's all give a round of applause there to the defense. That's hard to do. That's something that they've struggled to do over the years. So really, I lost a ton of respect for Mahomes. I Up until last night, I'd always thought, wow, he's a great player. I love what the Chiefs have done. Obviously, there's been some moments over the years I've been rooting against them, but I've rooted for them in a lot of situations as well. But no more. That's the end of it. I think I can't believe it. And some people defended Mahomes online initially, but I don't see many people defending now. And the NFL, you better fine them, because if you're going to be fining, seems like every week I see some player getting fined for some hit or some normal football motion, and they get fined for those. And we can look back anytime somebody says anything about the refs, even like, there were a couple calls that didn't go our way, or I'm not so sure about that call. Like, you even bring up the refs with anything besides, well, the refs are going to call what they're going to call, and we had plenty of other opportunities to win. They didn't decide that game. If you don't respond that way, you're getting a fine. So I need some serious hefty fines. It's not a suspension worthy event. Come on. Don't be ridiculous. But there needs to be some hefty fines, because you're not allowed to talk to the refs about that. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Chiefs egregious call is, where the Chiefs have gotten a call that they shouldn't have. Let me know that in the comments. I think it'll be fun to fill the comments up with the myriad of times the Chiefs have gotten away with great calls that have always ended up in their favor for them to win games. So yeah, that's what I want to see in the comments. We will see you tomorrow. We're going to talk about some of the other football games and do our full weekly NFL recap. If you enjoyed this video, please like, please share, subscribe if you haven't. We want to keep bumping that number up so that we can keep reaching more people with the content. So thank you again, and we'll see you tomorrow.